Wrong camera too. Oh, and I didn't open the lens. Another fabulous opening to the live stream. Yes, it's Wednesday, and I missed last week, but that's okay because nobody's here anyway. It's cool because it's all right. So we missed last Wednesday because I had a work situation, I think. Yeah, pretty sure it was work. I don't know what else. My personal life is on an even keel, so I think it was a project that I had to get done, and I didn't actually get it done that night either. So, yeah. But I did get it done since then, and now I have another disaster that I have to deal with. So this live stream will be cut short by just a little bit. I'm going to work for an hour and a half tonight. And I'm not going to work on the Florkin. I'm not even going to talk about it except for just a couple things that it's still alive. And I just wanted to say, is just as predicted, now the right wing is starting to separate here, and where I took it apart and glued it on this section, it seems to be holding out pretty good. So we're happy about that, and this will get repaired not today on this live stream, I don't think, because you've already seen me do that, and how boring would that be? As boring as everything else that I do on this thing. Yeah, but that's okay. What's the news? The news is there's not really any news. I haven't bought anything. I'm on a strictly no purchase diet. I had to purchase a couple things for my friends, a friend that I help, that I've known for like 30 years. And so just small things anyway, doesn't matter. But I'm not purchasing any RC stuff for a while. I did sort of spend some time on another project that's aviation related, and that is my flight simulator rig, which I have just got going in the last few days. So that was my purchase. I'm going to get a lens cleaner out too while I do this. That was my purchase, which was buying the last thing that I had to buy was a actual flight simulator program. And I had been, I don't know if anybody out there in RC land, since nobody's here to ask, can't ask you guys, but is into flight sim. It's a game. You got to consider it a game. It's not a real life simulation. But for a game, they strive, the simulators, I believe, the major ones, strive to be as realistic as possible, given the many constraints that you're dealing with. For example, I'm just going to blab on for a few minutes, because aviation is, I think it's not like why are we in this hobby? Why do we like to fly RC planes? Is it just because we like RC? Is it because I was into aviation way before I flew RC planes or quadcopters or anything. I was totally into flight simulator. I had Microsoft Flight Simulator on the Commodore 64. And I had Microsoft Flight Simulator on the Amiga. And maybe I think I flew Microsoft Flight Simulator in Commodore 64 emulator mode on the Amiga. And I had Microsoft Flight Simulator for the IBM PC on a dinosaur IBM, what was called back then IBM XT. It was a genuine, I wish I still had these computers, a genuine IBM XT. Yeah. So I had a genuine Commodore 64. I had two of them. I had a Commodore Amiga 1000, the original Amiga, with an original Amiga. Man, I can remember those days fondly. Anyway, the flight simulator. So what did I buy? What do you think? What do you think? Does anybody care? I got Microsoft Flight Simulator in Windows 95. Yes. I might have, yes. Okay, so in Windows 95, I had like 3 different versions of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I had the World War II Combat Simulator. I got to use yet another one. That's how dirty my glasses are. So of course, in recent times, very recent times, there's been 2 new releases of 2 versions of Flight Simulator. One, of course, is Microsoft Flight Simulator, which was released in 2020. That's not so recent. And so everybody, I watched a ton of videos about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And, but it's kind of funny that at the very last minute, you know, I had all the stuff from when I was from way back. So I still have my flight yoke, my CH flight yoke, my CH throttle quadrant, my CH, some of the stuff I got from my dad when he died, because he was a real pilot. We had a Beechcraft Bonanza when I was a kid. V-tail. It had a King Bendix stack, radio stack with DME, and it was pretty nice for the day. It's pretty nice. Pretty nicely outfitted for the day, indeed. My dad would be so intensely amazed at these machines, these things, and at the flight simulation that we have nowadays. But oh, that's so much better. Thank you. I use this anyway. That's good. It's not perfect, but good. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, is a little bit of playing with Flight Simulator. The rudder pedals that I have suck. There's CH pedals and the reason they suck is they would be perfect. They would be perfect if it wasn't just for the very center. There's a detent and a kind of a kerchunk right in the middle, and it ruins it because, of course, when are you doing the rudder the most when you're flying a realistic simulation, when you don't have auto rudder or anything like that? You are flying, you need the rudder. It's not like an RC plane where you can get by without the rudder. This is like real life. You got to have a real life simulation, game simulation. You have to have a rudder to make it work. And when you're trying to go down the taxiway or trying to go down the runway on takeoff, or even landing and taxiing off, and you've got that kerchunk in the middle, right where you're using the most, it sucks. That part. So one of these days, I'm going to get a new rudder pedals. And the computer itself, it's not like I bought a bunch of stuff. It's cobbled together stuff. And it's not the highest end. So my frame rate, I had to turn stuff down. So one of the things that happened was, I'm going to talk about it for a couple more minutes because it's aviation related. Anyway, what was I going to say? I had the panels were all blurry. The panels were all blurry. Like when you went into the G1000 172, which is one of the two, I've been flying 3 planes since I got this thing going in the last week. So since I missed the last live stream, I think I got it going over this past weekend. So it was Friday night. And that's because I got paid. I got paid. I downloaded the free version that lets you fly for 15 minutes on Thursday night. And so I think I did do it Thursday night, and then I bought, on payday, I bought X-Plane on Steam. And, that's what I bought. X-Plane, I just revealed it. I bought X-Plane 12, which is the other major flight simulator. But anyway, what was I going to say? The panels were all blurry. I was like, oh man, this is because it's a beta. X-Plane 12 is beta. It's not It's not final release like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It's been around now for 2 years. Obviously, that's an established product already. So X-Plane 12 is basically X-Plane 11. Let's face it, it really is just X-Plane 11.5 or something. But, and I'm not even that familiar with X-Plane 11, and you get X-Plane 11 when you buy X-Plane 12. You can also download X-Plane 11, which I have. I haven't run it, but anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, and I don't even remember what I was talking about. But oh, so the frame rate's about 30 maximum. Sometimes, like when you're taxiing and you're stopped, or you're doing your radios and stuff, and you're doing your flight, you're putting your flight plan in, because I've been playing with the G1000. The Garmin G1000 glass cockpit. So advanced. Oh my God. So advanced. I mean, people that have that in real life, they have a very advanced aircraft, even if it's a Cessna 172. A Cessna 172 with this glass cockpit, I mean, it cruises at 100 knots airspeed, and that's like 100, it's like, you know, that's 150, 160 miles an hour over the ground sometimes, like when you have a tailwind. It's you're moving, and you got this glass cockpit. You can put in advanced flight plans, which is the kind of stuff I like playing with the charts and everything, and advanced approaches with DME arcs and all that. If you're a real pilot, you might know what that, you obviously know what that is way better than I do. I don't know what any of this stuff really is, except for I know what a DME arc is, but anyway, just barely. It will fly that perfectly. I've already done a few approaches and it flies it perfectly. Anyway, so Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 I did not get because at the very last minute, I decided that I thought, and it's always been this way with X-Plane versus Microsoft Flight Simulator, as long as since there's been the two that have been at least around and developed enough that they work well, mostly well, that the X-Plane flight model is more realistic and even though you can turn the realism and everything, crank it up in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the realism isn't quite the same according to people that know what they're talking about. Not according to me, because I don't know what I'm talking about. And I can imagine for me, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But there's just part of my head that my dad was a pilot. I always wanted to be a pilot. Not like a commercial pilot necessarily, but like to fly a real airplane. And I'm going to go on one more tangent, and that is Part 103. And if you're in the United States, FAA Part 103. I had no idea. I had an idea, and then I kind of forgot about it, but you can fly these ultralights with less. Okay, this plane has more regulations from the FAA than this thing that's in the X-Plane 12. That's why I came back to this ultralight thing, because X-Plane 12 has the Arrow 103, an ultralight plane, and it's so much fun to fly. And it's like, I don't know how realistic it is. It has a yoke. It has like a Cessna. It doesn't have a stick. It has a yoke, which is what I like about it, because most of the ultralights have a stick, and I like yokes. I like the yoke. That's why I like Boeing better too. Oh yes, I know. I saw him. That's when I kind of forgot about that you could. So after his video, when he built that plane, and then I think he built more than one. But I definitely watched, for sure, him fly the plane. He built and flew this plane, the ultralight himself, an ultralight, and he talked about the regulation. Yeah, and so I saw that video. And compliant airplane out of foam. Oh, okay. See, that one I didn't see. I saw the ultralight that, it was electric, I guess. It was electric. He built the frame part was out of, he had some aluminum tubing and stuff, the one I saw. I mean, he built it out of not just foam, that's for sure. Anyway, and he got in it and flew it. He built it, he flew it, and you don't need any regulation. You don't need a license, you don't need a medical, you don't need a nothing. It just has to, the plane has to weigh less than 250 pounds according to the current FAA 103 spec. I believe it's 250 pounds. Unbelievable. So I saw that video way back when, what was it, 2, 3, 4 years ago, whenever it was. Who knows? I'm too old. My sense of time is gone. And then I basically forgot about it, because then I kept thinking, man, someday I want to fly a plane. I could fly a plane because I could fly an ultralight. I don't need a license. I don't need a medical. I don't need anything. He's built 3 of them. Okay. All right. Right on. So there you go. I want to do that. I want to fly an ultralight. So who knows? That's good. I don't have a bucket list, but now I do have a bucket list. I want to fly an ultralight. And so I have flown the ultralight in the simulator in X-Plane 12, and I've taken off and flown a pattern and landed. It's hard to fly a pattern in the simulator because without the, I mean, yeah, you can move the mouse and look around and stuff, but the immersion is not the same. And if you go on YouTube, of course, you've seen people that have built the simulators with 3 screens. And that's another thing you can do easier in X-Plane. That's another reason I chose X-Plane, is because X-Plane can have alternative. I have an electronic flight bag. It works perfectly. Anyway, I got to stop talking about flight simulation. And back to RC planes, because that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. Anyway. But yeah, Peter, he's into RC stuff, but yet look at that. He built a ultralight and he flew it. And yes, amazing. Okay, I'm nerding out, I know, totally. Okay, so back to the floor cage for just another minute. I believe that the roll is very nicely tuned, if that makes any sense, but the pitch is horribly tuned. And I'm going to work on that. I can't get it. I've flown the auto tune over and over and over now, it seems like, at least 3 or 4 times. And sometimes the pitch gets worse. Sometimes the pitch doesn't get any better. I put auto tune on when in altitude hold mode, and it still has the pitch oscillations. This thing, it goes like when altitude hold or return to home. Anytime it's flying itself and maintaining its own altitude, it's got an up and down pitch oscillation. And so now I've been spoiled with my other planes, and that was all pre-INAV 5, I understand too, but they never needed any tuning to fly good enough. Let me just put it that way. This plane needs something more to fly good enough. So that's basically the report. It's still in one piece. The repair that I did to the antenna sticking out of the bottom seems to have held. And as I expected, like I said, this wing, the right wing now, is doing the same thing that the left wing did. And my fix for the left wing is holding. Beyond that, that's it. That's all I got to say about the Florkin, and I just wanted to update you. It's gone on now probably 10 flights, maybe even a few more. So the only other news I have is I don't have my Starbucks coffee today. I make Frappuccino bottle. I have no Frappuccinos, and it's going to kill me. By the way, Sean, am I saying it right? Is it Sean? Thanks for commenting and thanks for watching. Okay, this is what we're working on. Let me maybe have a camera view that looks at something. No, that's not moving today. Well, here, That'll work right there. The FPV Combat Wing needs to have the one last component connected to it of this mess. And we have to figure out, and that component is the, I also have to, of course, make the real, this is just the testing receiver and antenna that I have. I've got another one in here that's really going to be bound to it. We're going to have to make another wiring harness, unfortunately. But, okay. Oh, I did do this in the last stream. I forgot that I had done this. Okay, so I think all I have to do is the radio. The receiver. This mess. Oh. This mess here is the wires for... How did that get tangled? Seriously. This whole thing must have gone through here. Right? Yes, it did. Okay, let's untangle it. Oh my gosh. Oh, FT Spear. Okay, well, thank you. That is one of the most awesome, fun builds that I ever had. Awesome is in the eye of the beholder, I guess, but I thought it was an awesome build. It is still on the wall right there. I don't know if it's in camera or not. Is it? Oh yeah, sure it is. There it is, right there. Do you have an FT Spear? Did you build one? That plane flies really nicely, actually. Oh my God, this is so tangled, such a tangled mess now. Oh, there we go. Okay, what should I do about that? I should have put some heat shrink over both of them. Doesn't matter, I'm going to glue it down in the plane. Okay, I think we can start actually building this plane. So this is a flight test. I don't know. Okay, so let me explain. I don't know how much you know about what I'm doing here. I am building. Since you're watching, I'm going to explain to you so you know what's going on. I'm building one of these, basically. This is an FT Arrow, also modified with a 3D printed center pod. So, building, that's what this little piece of plastic is. I almost said crap. This plane isn't that great. It's just, I'll be honest. I mean, it flies really good for me. It launches perfectly every time. I've replaced the wings on it 100 times now. It seems like not really, but it's crashed a few times, but it flies. This fuselage part and the electronics inside have been on more than 100 flights for sure. I mean, this thing is it's foam, so of course I've had to replace the wings. Tear it down and rebuild the wings, but it's 2 pieces of Dollar Tree foam board, right? So what this is basically an iNav plane with FPV Combat on it, and the link is in the description for fpvcombat.com, at least I hope it is. So it's going to have 2 FT Arrow wings connected to this pod, which I've done some special 3D printed parts to hold all the little bits for the FPV Combat system plus the flight controller. So you finished the Arrow. Yeah, it is called a mini Arrow. I never call it a mini Arrow for some reason. I just call it an Arrow. That's why it says Arrow. The Spear definitely isn't mini, but I just write Arrow on it. Not write, but I print out a little thing that says Arrow. Yeah, I guess if it has that mini pod, it's called a mini series, right? That's why. And so that was the thing that killed me about the mini Arrow, now that I'll call it the right name, and I don't have any of the parts close by, but first of all, I couldn't get the CG right. Second of all, I couldn't get a battery in. Third of all, I just couldn't even it was so hard to like assemble at the very end to get everything in that that is one thing that I have disliked about, and that's why I always end up modifying the flight test designs. That Flurkin is a modification of the original Flurkin. I've never finished a real Flurkin based on the way it's supposed to be built. And I've built a couple FT Arrows the way they're supposed to be built. But even then, the first thing I did with an FT Arrow is I built a it was a centerpiece somehow, and it made it just 3/8 of an inch wider, like 10 millimeters wider, not even, just so I could fit the little batteries that I had. Anyway, so that was the one thing about flight test that, although I'm totally into flight test, of course, I have a zillion flight test or flight test derived type planes and parts built everywhere all over here in this place. I never liked the fact that they didn't tell you like exactly how they got CG when they flew their planes in their videos. I mean, you should show people. Like, I'll show you, like on the Flurkin. This thing has CG spot on. So it shouldn't be that the CG's off. And I can put the battery right up against this point, and I could tell you what kind of battery it is. It's a 4S 2300 tattoo battery. That's what gets you on CG. I think that the flight test people, they did it with the Flurkin. Actually, they did tell you what kind of battery they were using and almost showed you where it was sitting in the thing. But they kind of skip over that part sometimes. So anyway, okay, I babble a lot, don't I? So I have an extra one of these. We have one of these. We can build this thing. So what do we need to do? I need to think about this. Actually, I kept thinking I was going to be soldering electronics, but no, not really. We have the wings here. We have the FPV combat system already programmed. We should have the spars. Oh dear, where are the spars? Each box should have a set of spars. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. We have a problem. Where did I put the spars? Here is the material for the spar, I think. Let's see if this is the right dimension. Yep. Okay. That means I have to figure out if I've written down how long to make the spars, because I forgot. Oh, shit. Well, that's okay. We're going to figure it out, because we can do this. I'm going to plug in the hot glue gun, because I'm going to actually try to put some parts together for this plane today. We got it because we're going to have to glue in the servos. We're going to turn off the heater. It got down to 22 here in Kansas last night. 20 even, maybe. Took a couple of tries to get the CG right, but once I did, it flew great. Oh, that's good. So what'd you do I'm interested in. I put I taped some stuff to the bottom of it is what I ended up doing. Oh, I know what I remember what I ended up doing. I made a big, because I crunched the nose, so I made a big 3D printed cover, and I purposely made it heavy because I needed CG I needed weight up in the front. So I purposely made this big clunky cover over the front little pod because I made the FPV version. I think there's two versions, and maybe there's not. Yeah, there is two versions of the Arrow, and I should say that this wing is the way it's cut to meet this 3D printed pod is as if when you make the Arrow, you cut the top part and you leave the bottom part longer if you're going to have that little pod in there. And so the way this one is cut, the way these wings are cut for mine, is you cut it where you cut it at the top line. You cut the bottom line parallel to the top line, basically. Simple as that. So you don't leave the extra part coming out. And so I have a 3D printed part. I could put it up on Thingiverse, I guess I should someday. It's probably be useful to somebody. It kind of joins, it makes a little blurb between the two wings, and you can set the width of that as wide as you want. And then it has like an angle thing here, and then it curves back. So what it does is it gives you a kind of a flat surface on the bottom, like this has a flat surface, but it doesn't have this big pod crap in the middle. It doesn't have anything in the middle except a little bump to separate the two pieces as far away as you want. And then it has this bottom surface to keep it, help glue it together. I should put that on Thingiverse or all the other things that I'm on there. Okay, so the way we'll do this is we'll glue one of these wings down. We're going to put in the servos. That's the first thing we have to do. So we've got the glue gun going. The wing is ready. So we're going to scooch this stuff out of the way, and we're going to put in the servos. And I have labeled the servos left and right. They've been centered. Oh, they haven't been. That was for the flirkin. Okay, so we got to center the servos. Actually, we don't have to center the servos till we get it in there. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put them in the same way I put in the other ones, which is towards the back trailing edge. Okay. So what we will do is, I'm going to have to untape this business from here. I'm going to put all this crap over here. And what time is it? Oh my God. So I've been here for over half an hour, and I'm just getting to the actual building instead of just talking. That's how it goes sometimes in this workshop. What kind of hot glue gun are you using? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I have a brand new toy. Speaking of flight test, I have this. I haven't used it yet. The flight test. So I'm not using this, but we can get it out and look at it. I'm using this, which is a pretty damn good glue gun actually for the cheapiness that it is. Doesn't have a switch, doesn't have any temperature control. It's too hot. It's too hot even for that. It needs some temperature control. And it's probably going to be on its last leg. So my plan is to keep using this one until it dies. And then we can look at this one if you'd like, if you're like getting into glue guns. I talked to my friend Andy, who sometimes comes on here on this live stream, but not tonight, obviously, into buying this glue gun that I thought, and I was going to get it too. I was like, I found this website, and it was mammoth, man. It was like even bigger than this one, and this one, oh, this one is pretty big. So this is the flight test, 300 watt. It's got a temperature control. It feels really nice. It's got a nice, I like this tip as opposed to this tip. And I have some smaller, I have like 6 or 7 glue guns from this company, AdTech. And by the way, the reason I got the AdTech guns was because that's what the flight test guys were pushing way back in the days that I first started getting into this stuff. The very first thing I did back in 2014 when I kind of got back into RC was build an FT mini Arrow. It's the very first thing I did. It had just come out. Josh had just released it. This also has like a little stand thingy that goes in here. And it comes with a little wrench to, I guess, adjust the tip or take the tip off. And it comes with 4 glue sticks that I probably won't, I don't know what kind they are, so I might not use them. I don't know. I will use them, of course. I use every glue stick. But anyway, comes in a case. But like I said, I'm not using this one until this one, it seems like the tip part has been, there's been a couple times that I've left it on overnight, and it's kind of getting a little wonky at the end there. So it might be time that it might start decomposing at that part. So that's the answer to that. Molding some bays for some Li-ion batteries. Yeah. One of these days I want to do Li-ion batteries, because especially for a plane like the Flurkin, which I think is very efficient compared to this plane, for example. Very efficient. I don't think it's as efficient as the flight controller is telling me, because I don't think it's properly calibrated. I will admit that. The flight controller is telling me it's like very efficient. I can't remember the numbers. Anyway, okay, we will not worry about centering these things until they're in the plane, because it's different than the Flurkin. You can easily get at the control horns. So what we need to do, oh my God, we have to glue this together before we put the servos in. What am I thinking? We are going to glue this wing together. We're going to glue both of these wings together. Then I'm going to figure out the length of the spars, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, oh my gosh, we're doing it. This is like every time I get to the point where I'm going to glue the wing together, I get nervous. It's like mating a plane. I get nervous. Okay. I should have put that back in the HC10 bag. Okay, we are going to glue these wings. We're going to glue the first wings. We will not glue the... I'm building 3 of these planes. I'm building one for me, one for Kevin, and one for Andy. And they're supposed to be built a year ago. About. So... Oh, you're super interested in my Flurkin experience. Well, I love building that plane. First of all, I love it. I love it. I loved when Josh came out with that, which was recently, of course, not too long ago. I was like, finally, a new interesting flight test plane that I like, because I like the swept forward wing design. It flies good. I just need to tune it. If it was just a flyby, like a manual bare bones plane, it'd fly great. It flies good in manual mode. What I don't like about the Flurkin, that's why I built the this is the modified. Get that away from the glue gun. This is the modified base, I guess you'd say, to the Flurkin the way I built it. It doesn't have the slide-off hatch or the slide-off nose. It has a hatch, as you saw, because I showed that. Anyway, so, and I have on Thingiverse, which I hope I have a link in the description. If not, I need to put one. There's got to be one in one of my Flurkin videos somewhere. They're painful to watch, though. One of these days I got to edit those things down into something that's meaningful. But I have the 3D printed parts for this on Thingiverse, and the front camera that places it in the right place and all that stuff. I've got more parts built for it. Here's another. I'm having parts built for the Flurkin number 2, Flurkin Mark II. Also, I'd recommend, since we're talking about the Flurkin, that you modify the spar by adding, so this is what the spars look like inside the Flurkin. The reason I didn't keep reinforcing it over here is because this is where the wire's got to come across. But this is just a piece of wood from like one of those, like a wood dowel. And these are pieces of popsicle stick from one of those piece bags you get at like Walmart or something that has a bunch of popsicle sticks. So I'd recommend that because I just think the wing doesn't seem strong enough. And the other thing is, don't build it with tape. So these are pre-taped, as you can see. But what's going to happen is I need to take the tape off of here before I glue it onto the 3D printed pod, because otherwise it's gluing to tape. And when I made the Flurkin, the wing sides, these pieces here, so the wing gets glued against the side of this. And as you can see, this one, it's already got tape on it to cover it. And don't do that for this panel because there's no surface. So I ended up having to repair that on the one side. And now I have to repair it on the other side. And it is repairable once you make the mistake, but it's regrettable that I don't plan ahead sometimes, and it's easier just to tape the whole thing. So I usually, when I build all my flight test stuff, I take the pieces flat. It's all flat. Where's this one? Here. There's a wing. Here's an FT Arrow wing, and I'm going to cover it with tape. I'm going to finish coloring it in with my very famous, fabulous Sharpie. And then I'm going to cover it with packing tape before I do any folding or anything else with it. So anyway, that's what I did with these. So one side gets taped. I always tape the bottoms different colors too for some reason. When you fly in line of sight, it's sometimes easier to see what's going on. Okay, I think we're about ready to... Yeah, I've been meaning to get those arrows from Walmart for spars too. That's a good idea. It's a good idea. I learned that lesson long ago with Experimental Airlines. I don't know if you remember that guy on YouTube. Anyway, okay, we're gonna glue. So I got to prepare a couple things here. Let's. Sorry, I'm blabbing, I guess. See, that's what happens. I haven't done a live stream in 2 weeks, so got a lot to say. I love talking about airplanes and aviation, and that's, like I said, it's my whole life. When I was a kid, spent the weekends with my dad at the hangar at Pontiac Airport in Pontiac, Michigan. At the North Tees. I wish I remember what hangar number it was. It was and my dad's plane was a Beechcraft Bonanza. I think it's still around. I looked it up recently. November 777 Zulu. It's an easy plane to remember the call sign for. November 777 Zulu. November 777Z. Zulu. Of course, Zulu. Okay, so let's practice. Let's do some... Oh, hold on. I got to get the dust blaster. It's been around so long, I got to blast dust off of it. And I should have put the side camera on over here. I forgot about that. I grabbed the dust blaster because I had a spider at my flight simulator computer over here, and I didn't want to kill it. So I blasted it away with some air. Okay. Get this camera positioned. I think we're gonna try it. I don't know. We'll try to glue it on camera if it will focus. Practice first. So we've already done the hinge on, not finished the hinge, but hinged it so we can glue this, and we can look at the trailing edge. And that's the part that I've got a plan for, because what I'd like to do is try to push it so it lines up properly, and then what ends up happening is I'm smashing it against something and it moves around. So what we're going to do is a little prep. We're going to tape this piece of, if I can get the tape off. We're going to tape this piece of, see why it takes me a year to build an airplane? It did not take me a year to build a Flurkin. I cut the first parts of the Flurkin back in February, so it didn't take me a year. It's still 2022. Didn't take me a year. That's my defense. Like, didn't take a year. Okay, we're going to have that like there. So that way I can push this, and then I got to tape this down. Tape the pad down. Sorry for the camera focus. So you like getting into FPV. Excellent. Well, it's a transition for sure from flying line of sight. And I found now, of course, flying line of sight is actually a lot harder than flying FPV. I mean, I know people that have more trouble with FPV than flying line of sight, actually. But I think it's easier to fly line or FPV because you're in the cockpit. Like you don't have the peripheral vision that you should unless you have some kind of cool head tracker or something, of course. But I think that it's cool enough. It's good enough perspective that it changes everything about what you're doing as far as difference between that and line of sight. I mean, I like line of sight too because I like steering the plane around and going. I mean, I'm not into I don't know how to do the tricks and all that stuff, and I'm too afraid to do the tricks. I'm just too afraid. But I love flying around and flying past myself at low passes and doing that line of sight. And of course, you miss all that. Like the Flurkin, I never see it. It's got all these lights on it and stuff. I've got the ring light. I mean, I don't know how much have you seen of what I built in there, but it's got lights, and I never see them because I'm in the goggles all the time. But okay, this is good. Now see, this is going to hold much better because now I can just push against that, and as long as this doesn't come off, this piece of foam board here, I'm going to be good. As long as that doesn't come loose, I can hold the wing against it, and I can press down without pressing down too hard because you don't want to crunch the foam. And I want to try to do this all in a single operation. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do it. This makes me nervous. Always makes me nervous when I'm doing the gluing. Gluing Arrow wings makes me nervous. And I've built so many of them, yet it still makes me nervous. Oh my God, I'm about to make a fatal mistake. I have to put the receiver in and the other radio. Oh my gosh. That would have been fatal. Okay, so the RX is going to go on the right side. This is the right wing. This is going to be the left wing. This one's going to get... Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. So that does mean I have to do a little bit of soldering because I have to do the receiver. Scheisse. Sorry, I'm thinking off camera. I'm looking at my pile of stuff. I'm so disappointed in myself right now. Okay, here, let's get this box back. The servos can go in after. They can, because I can fish the servo wire through here. But these two radios that go on the outside, so in FPV, you have to keep these radios separate as possible. So I try to do that. And this is the receiver, but this isn't really the oh, what camera am I on? I wasn't even on the camera. that I thought I was on. This receiver, switching cameras, does not have the right. This is my test setup. This is my test receiver. So I need to, yeah, see, bound to Tyrannosaurus 2. It's bound to my test radio. So I've gotta undo this and do the other receiver. Okay, so we gotta do that. Ah, goodness gracious. Okay, so we're gonna unplug this. What camera am I on? Don't lose track of that. I did not cover my wing, so just cut a hole in the bottom of the left wing once it's done to put a receiver in. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fine, and I've actually replaced the receiver on an FT Arrow. Not that one, but the other one. I've replaced the receiver after it's built, and I cut out a little panel. It's way down here at the end of the wing, and I cut out a little panel of the wing. That's another thing, great thing. I'm going to go on another tangent since I'm not getting anything done. This spear, which is probably now close to its end of life because it's getting a little crunched, but it was crunched horribly. I smashed the crap out of the front of this, and then I fixed it. You can see, actually it was this corner that was crunched. You can see, it's got a section there. Let's get the grass off of it. Right there. So this whole piece, I cut a section out somehow. I can't even remember how I did it. But I cut the crunched part out of the front of this and replaced it with new foam. And I didn't have to rebuild the whole back structure back here because that wasn't crunched. It was just crunched like up here. So I think I took most of this front part out. I don't know exactly how I did it, but I did it. And I fixed it. And it's like, cool. And of course the arrows have been fixed the same way. I've replaced receivers by cutting out panels. Flight test planes are awesome. I mean, and just building with foam board in general, I think. Especially like you said, all the real planes that I've built, I've crashed them. And they're crashed. They're completely crashed. And what do? You're screwed. Okay, where's the radio now? I gotta find the bag. Okay, we gotta solder. We're gonna have to solder. So we're going to fire up the soldering iron because I'm not gonna blow this off now. I'm hoping to get at least one wing glued today. So this left wing is gonna get this radio. Where's the radio? I've lost it now. I had it in this mess and now I've lost it. Here it is. So this radio is going in this wing. And we're going to have to get it, the wires, so that they go in the right place down there. So it's going to go in this channel. Actually, no, I don't want it to go in that channel because I think it's going to have to go through the front cavity. So we can take a test look at it. If we take this apart, gosh, no wonder it takes me 10 years to build an airplane, huh? If we take this apart, this hole right there, which if I switch cameras, there's a hole, an access hole on the side here. That goes to the front. Let's get all this junk out of here. That goes to the front cavity. So if I use that front cavity and then this, oh, there's not really a hole. Yes, there is in the back cavity. All right. So here's what we're going to do right now. We're going to mark 2 marks so I can see where the edge of the spar is going to be. So I'm going to mark a mark right. Oh my God, this camera, I can't deal with it. I can't wait to get something going here. I'm going to mark a mark where that spar hits. It's not even close to pointing what I want to point it at. There we go. Where the spar hits at each end. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to hold it down, basically where it's got to get glued. And I want to keep holding it in the same spot and go around the table. The spar doesn't go all the way to the end, so it's not going to be perfect, but I think it's about right there. No, it's more like right, you can't even see what I'm doing. Right there in the middle of those two marks. Okay. But we made a long enough thing down here. Okay. So here we've got this line. Let's draw that line on here. This is why it always takes me a long time, because I have to plan out the wiring. Because I've had enough times where I've built something and I'm like, oh, crap-a-moly, I didn't build the right thing. Or I built something out of order. That should have gone first before this, or something like that. Okay, so this is an estimate. Oh my God, how far off was I? No, way far off. We're going, that's not going to tell me anything. That's too far off. There's too much room for error. Let me see if I can get it again. There's that one. Let's see. Now that I'm practiced at this, holding this, it'd be really easy to glue it right now. How can I be that far off? That line isn't even close to the line. It's more like there. Yep. Okay. We're going to go from here to there. Can you even see what I'm doing? Sort of. Not even. Oh, this camera's so hard for me to aim because it's backwards. It's like flying line of sight, except I'm even better at line of sight, even as crappy as I am now. That's the line. So all we have to do is find a place down here to put this radio, this here radio. It's going to go down here. With the little antenna sprung on it. So we've got the soldering iron up. We're going to solder one of these little tiny antennas on it. This module talks to the other airplanes that will also have these modules in the air and transfers their GPS location to each other, believe it or not. That's what's going on there. And that guy's going to get soldered in that spot. It's also got a little UFL connector for a real antenna. But we're not going to do that. We're going to just take this antenna, we're going to bend it down. We're going to solder it on like that. So let's do it. We're just going to solder it from the bottom. Focus. Oh, I should get my little piece of wood to solder onto. You've built around 24 planes. Holy crap, I haven't built that many planes. So you have a way more plane building experience than I do. That's awesome. I've ever built. Crashed every plane that I've ever built. I sold that one before I ever flew it. Oh my God. So I have one balsa plane. It's way up on that shelf. I bought it at an estate sale this summer. And I'm gonna put, I'm not gonna get, it's not gonna, I'm converting it to, it's a gas plane. I'm gonna convert it to electric. Excuse me, sorry for drinking. I forgot to hit the mute button. Oh, I know why I forgot to hit the mute button. I don't have a mute button. I haven't programmed a mute button in to all these things. Okay, I gotta put some water on the sponge. And the sponge is back here off camera where the soldering iron is. Over here. Back here. Over here. Anyway, okay, we're going to solder this. It's going to take a few seconds, and then we're going to have to do the receiver too. And I might have to put firmware on the receiver. That's going to take up the rest of the time. Soldering this, putting firmware on the receiver. Gosh, not even cutting the spars. That's terrible. Okay, so we have a hot iron. And we'll try to get a close-up of this. I'll try to do the best I can at getting in the middle, but I'm not as flexible about where to move it. Okay, that's good. Get a closer. Sorry about if it's out of focus. This stupid webcam is like the worst. And one of these days, I'm going to get a new... Okay, so we're just going to put a blob right there, and that should all be all we need. It's got its own ground plane, I guess. So that's it for that. That part, this receiver's done. Now we just have to glue it in, and we can glue this wing. That's right, I'm going to get a wing glued today. So I'm thinking of putting the receiver just like this, like a big, kind of looks like somebody giving somebody the finger. I'm thinking if I'm right here near where the spar goes on, it won't get in the way. Okay, let's move the camera here. And let's go. And then now we got to plan out, well, we'll glue this down here first, because that's got plenty of space to get to where it needs to go. Plenty of wire, probably too much. So we're going to glue this guy down here along this line. Yay, we're gluing something. We're gluing something. Dun, da, da. Still going to have to work on this on the next live stream, obviously. January 2022. I cut this wing. I always write my date of the date I cut it. I cut this wing in January 2022. That is hilarious. Okay, we're going to glue this now. We're just going to plop it down. Do I know which? Oh, I have another one of these I can look at. I was going to say, I hope I know which one is which. RX and TX. Okay, we're just going to stick it right down there like that. And I'm not overly concerned about the extra glue plopping out, because I'm just going to take this little piece of foam and then over here and then mush it down some more. And it's hot. It's hot. It's hot. Here, why don't I mush it down with one of these? There we go. Now, what I'm going to do before I get any farther, because, oh, it still can be mushed down some. But it is hot. Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. Get rid of some of this extra glue if possible. Any extra weight we can get rid of. We don't need all this extra weight. Oh yeah, so this stuff is this glue tack that you get at like wherever, Walmart, Target, or whatever. It's kind of like clay. And I love it for soldering, yes. And I don't mind soldering all that much. I mean, I have, if you watched some previous live streams, in which I are somewhat embarrassing, some of them, I've bitched a lot about certain placement of soldering pads on certain boards, mostly the F411 WSE, but the Maytech, my most used board, and I nothing near 24. Like I built 4 or 5 planes with that board, I think. Okay, so now that that's down, we are going to once again push this down, and I'm going to look down the wing. I'm just going to push this down, and I'm going to make sure that where I've glued it is the proper place. Oh yes, it's perfect. So now, to plan out the wiring further, no, I didn't want to put it in the front cavity. I want to put it in the rear cavity. So now you can see how this mates up with this. If I switch cameras, I think you can see that this is... Gosh, why can't I ever get anything in shot? There, that's sort of in shot. So this lines up right there, front to back. And then these wires are going to go along this line until they go through here. So there's the entry point that I want to meet, right there. And then we can look at the spar placement. See, the spar, the piece is designed so that the spar rides on top of the foam. I say that like I know what the hell I'm doing. Do not think I know what the hell I'm doing. I do not. That goes on top of that. I force it over the top of that. Like that. And it goes right to there. That's how we're going to cut the spar. So we can mark the spar for cutting. Except I glued it to the... No, I didn't. So what I do is I measure that, and then I'm going to measure this distance here. And then I know to make the other distance from this point over here the same. That's how I'm going to guess the length of the spar. The front spar, there's a front spar too. I'm going to have to cut the rear spar before I figure out the front spar. But that spar goes past this spar in the front up to meeting the leading edge. And it doesn't have to ride over any pieces of popsicle stick. Okay, so I've got that marked. Excellent. Don't forget that I got that marked. And now we're going to glue this down. Oh, I was going to mark where the path of the spar. Darn it. Okay, that's what I forgot to do. And I'm going to take this sticker off because we don't need a barcode sticker on our spar. That goes over that to that line, right? Oh, I marked it at the wrong spot, folks. Yes, I did. Not this one. This one. This one. Oh my, additional marks there, and there, and there, there, and there. That way I know. That's how long the spar's got to be. Okay. All right. Oh, shit. You dum-dum. One more thing to do. Draw a line right here. The wire's going to be coming down. Oh, it's going to have to go underneath that. Yep, okay, I got to make sure there's a nice, that it's pushed down right against that popsicle stick right there. See you later. It's nice chatting with you too. And yeah. Soldering is something that you're going to have to do to get these things going, that's for sure. Get it. I dreaded it at first too, but anyway, have a good one. Thank you so much for watching. And we're not done yet though. I'm still going. I'm going to go for another 14 minutes. So I'm going to plop this bit of glue right down here, and I'm going to just hold this wire. And I want to make sure I'm in the right spot. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right there and hold the wire down. That way it won't be flopping around in the wing. And it will hopefully not pull out either. So we got to hold this for extra time because glue doesn't stick to these wires very well, but they kind of cover them. So once the glue is completely cooled off, it will keep them from moving. They don't even cover them completely, but they cover them enough that it keeps them from moving. So we just hold it in patience. And very much patience. And I'll have to do this 2 more times because we're building 3 of these. 2 more times. I'm going to hold it for yet another minute. And I got a nice clock right there because it's telling me, the screen is telling me what I am, how long I've been streaming. And it's been 1 hour and 26 minutes. That's not how long I've been blabbing, because I had a 15-minute intro thing. Okay, I think I can let go now. And now I'm going to do it before we get to this spar, right like right there. I'm going to put some glue right there. And I'm just going to hold it right there. When I get done with this stream, I have to write code for work. I have to write some code to interface with some APIs because the code I've written that's been working for years now, literally more than a year, so more than 2 years, so years, it has stopped working in the last 2 weeks. And I have promised the person that's responsible for this stuff that I worked with when we built it. God, I hope that stays. I'm going to just smother a little tiny bit of glue there to help it not fall apart. And then I'm going to take a piece of foam board. I'm going to smush that down. So that'll make it a little tougher to push the spar over that bit of gloop, but then I'm going to drizzle glue in there anyway. This is kind of a crude process that I do when I build this interface between the spar and this piece of popsicle stick here, is that I'm just drizzle glue in there from the outside. And let me tell you, it works. It works great. It keeps the damn thing from coming apart. Oh, I do have one failing with this. I forgot about the... You know what? We're going to put it through. We're not going to put it through the hole in the back here. We're going to put it through the hole. We're going to transition to the underneath the spar. Right there. And we're going to figure out where the spar touches that, and we're going to put a little notch in the spar. That's what we're going to do. I wanted to stop saying gonna on these live streams, and I haven't been able to do that. Usually I go 2 hours on this. Last week I didn't do it at all, which I'm sorry for. Apologies. Apologies to all viewers out there. No, I do like when people watch. It's not, I mean, to interact. I like when people watch and interact, because that's why I'm doing this. I've learned, actually, Robert, a regular on this stream who's not here today, he's helped me a lot. I mean, it's been awesome just having, I mean, every piece of advice doesn't fit for me, you know, but a lot of things do. A lot of things do. And it's nice to have interaction like that. I'd be better at it if I did the social media thing and talked to people and looked at the comments for YouTube. And one of these days, I hope to get my act together. I keep saying I'm going to. It's baby steps. This live stream is one baby step. And it's a pretty big one, because it does take it does take time out of your schedule, you know. But it's good, because it forces me to work in the workshop here instead of sit over there at that computer station where I do my office, my work job. Forces me to think about the airplanes and get these things built. This would not be getting done right now if I wasn't doing this stream. It wouldn't be. And so I'm getting shit done. And we're going to get a wing glued today, because that part is ready. So now what we need to do is get the pencil ready and just kind of see if we can... This time I'm going to tape it. That will help me get the other cable through, because tape is easier to get over than glue, I think. Okay, so now I'll switch cameras for this part. We'll set this aside. And we're going to place our pencil mark right there. So now we're going to cut out a little place. This little bit of wire will be able to go through. So we can cut that on this camera, I think. Yeah. Try to go in a curve. I think curves induce less points of stress, of possible stress. So now we'll test again and see if we've gotten it. I think that's going to work out great. So we are ready to glue this puppy down. Just want to make sure that the tape is not anywhere near where I'm gluing the spar. Nope. So this is going to go this way. I'm going to turn the soldering iron off. And move this stuff out of the way. Okay, so let's practice this one more time. Let's get that out of the way there. All we're going to do is this, and we're going to push it down gently and not smush it like I did with the Flurkin wing and put creases in the wing. Okay, so this takes a lot of glue. You have to glue down the trailing edge, then the leading edge, then the spars. Then you hold this and you gotta lift this up. So you push this down and you make sure that you've got the spar in the right spot. And then you gotta lift this up to make sure that you're not getting, oh, I see, it's not gonna, yeah, to make sure you're not getting glue in there. In the control surface hinge. Okay, so here we go. Let's make sure our glue is hot and flowing. I have a little cavity thing I misprint and I put some glue in there. Okay, we're going to do the trailing edge. We're going to do the leading edge. And we're going to do the spar. Okay, and we're going to put it up against there and push it down just like we practiced. Take a look there, it's beautiful. And now I'm going to gently hold it down while I let it dry. And I'm just going to hope that everything is in the right place. I'm going to move it down here so I can put a little bit more pressure on this part up here. I don't want to push too hard, but I want the spar to have good contact. And of course, I want the trailing edge to have good contact. So it's kind of hard to get all these things down at once. That's why it always scares me. I think I forgot the GPS too. I got to put the GPS in the other wing. That's hilarious. Where's the GPS gonna go? Right? I think it's down. I think we have a wing. I have built yet another wing. Not as many as Sean, but one more wing than I built yesterday under my belt. Today you have built one wing without an accident. I think it looks really good too. I think it looks really good. So hopefully I will build all the wings this good. And we're going to have some more combat Arrow wings in the world than we did a few months ago. Or ever. Because I don't think anybody's built these. So there it is. I should switch cameras. There it is. There's the wing. I think I can let go of it now and take a look. Now, that part wasn't exactly perfect. There's a little separation right there, but it's not too bad. The spar looks like it's got good contact all the way down. And the radio is untouched by the spar. So everything we wanted. Everything we wanted, that's how we did this. And I think the one mistake I think I've made now is that the GPS goes over here. But I might, yeah, I think I gotta put the GPS in a different location because now I have something. I usually put the GPS right here. So I'm going to have to figure that out. I put it on the other wing, and I'm probably going to put it further back. I'll see if I've made the wires, but this is the wires for the 433 megahertz radio. And it's 9:29. I managed to get a wing built today. I managed to get a wing built today. It's 9:29 and the stream is ending. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'm sorry I missed last week. I will be back next week if all goes well in the world. Let's do one last thing for today's live stream. Let's fix this piece of tape that's coming off here by sticking a little blimp on the trailing edge of the control surface. There. I'm going to do it in one more place. So we've built a wing today, and I talked endlessly about flight simulators and the Flurkin. That's what we got achieved today in our hour and a half. And I met a new friend, Sean Moore. Sean Moore is getting into FPV, and he's built a ton of planes. So he knows way more about plane building than I do. And balsa building and all that kind of stuff. Boy, I can't see. So I think that's awesome. And that inspires me to like actually do more for the community and in the community, is to meet people like Sean and do this RC stuff. And I'm going to do some flight simulator stuff too. But don't worry, I won't do it on this channel. I'll keep this channel RC related. And we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, everybody.